Hello everyone, my name is Jacob Snow, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Scopes Monkey trial. Now, this is arguably one of the most famous trials in American judicial history, and rightly so, because it was really the fundamentalist modernist argument coming to a head. Um, the state of Tennessee passed a law that prohibited the teaching of evolution in schools, made it legally actionable to do so. If you taught evolution in a Tennessee school, you were going to be fined $1,000, I'm fairly certain, which is a lot of money back then. So on May 5th, 1925, um, John Scopes was essentially led into admitting that he had taught evolution in the school, which was against the law. And the Chattanooga Times had run an ad for a group of evolutionists who would pay all of the legal fines for the person to come forward because they just wanted to get this into an actual battle. They didn't want it to just be people on the outside. They wanted definitive action now. And so what happens is we get it just turned into a media circus. Literally, that's what the site says, is that it literally became a media circus. It was one of the most widely covered events in American history as well. And Clarence Darrow was the defending attorney. He was the one who was representing John Scopes and going to try to legitimize evolutionary theory and allow it to be taught in the schools. The issue moved away from being about whether or not the man had taught evolution or not, and it moved toward should evolution be taught or not. Now, what's interesting is that the judge did try to keep the courtroom on case because Darrow wanted to bring several evolutionists aboard to prove the veracity of evolution. That wasn't what they were there to do. They were only there to see whether or not Scopes had taught evolution or not, and if so, would he get fined. But it still turned into really essentially a theological debate between Clarence Darrow and William Jennings Bryan, who was one time Secretary of State and also a devout Christian. And Jennings Bryan performed admirably up to the last day. And on the last day, Jennings Bryan made a mistake. Darrow had gotten him on the stand, which Bryan's counsel and everything said he should not do, but it was to defend his belief. And Darrow asked if the Bible, what the Bible had to say about it being millions of years, if it was a literal 6-day creation period or not. And Jennings Bryan said, well, that's relative. He, instead of going with the Bible says 6 days, morning and evening, that means literally morning and evening, Jennings Bryan said that it could mean a longer period of time. And pretty much that was all she wrote. Jennings Bryan, by saying this, essentially said that, well, evolution and the Bible are not entirely incompatible, and that provided a door for the modernists. That would provide a huge win for the modernists, because the modernists wanted to meld science and faith into... I'm not saying those two are incompatible, but they wanted to take the evolutionary theory and shoehorn it into the Bible. And Jennings Bryan didn't deny that that was possible. In fact, he affirmed that it was possible with the day-age theory, possibly. Sorry, it was a longer period of time than just a literal one day. Ultimately, Scopes lost the trial. He had to pay the fine anyway. But that wasn't really the point. That wasn't really what they were there to do. Tennessee had to repeal the law, eventually. Pretty much very soon after the Scopes trial concluded, they had to repeal the law, and the laws that had been placed like that in other states began to drop as well. And we have the education system that we have today that teaches evolution as the truth. It's a shame that that's the way it turned out. That's the way it turned out. If we only look at the Scopes Monkey trial as the definitive battle of the fundamentalist modernist war, the modernists won, if we're looking at it that way. I'm not saying that, abandon all hope, you who enter here. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that when it came to the Scopes Monkey trial, the modernists won, and so did the evolutionists, because The evolutionists got to teach whatever they wanted in the schools, which is what they had been trying for with the Scopes trial to begin with. I hope that you all have a great week. God bless.